Commander Vextel stared at the display screen with growing worry. His 3 eyes focused on the small dot that moved across the star map. The dot was getting closer to their space station every minute. He had been watching alien ships for 20 years, but this one was different. Very different. The space station hung in orbit around the planet Zephyr Prime. It was the most important monitoring post in this part of the galaxy. Every ship that wanted to enter Zephyrrian space had to stop here first. Every ship had to follow the rules. Every ship had to show respect to the Empire. But this small vessel was doing none of those things. Lieutenant Krisha turned away from her communication panel. Her blue skin looked pale with stress. She had been trying to contact the unknown ship for 3 hours now. Still no response, sir, she said. I have sent messages in all 17 galactic languages. I have used emergency frequencies. I have even tried old trade languages from the outer worlds. Nothing works. Vextel walked to the main viewing window. The stars looked peaceful, but he knew that was not true. Somewhere out there, a ship was moving toward them at impossible speed. The sensors showed it was small. Much smaller than even the smallest patrol ships they usually saw. Yet, it was moving faster than their best military vessels could travel. What does the analysis show? He asked the science officer. Officer Melter looked confused. Sir, the readings make no sense. The ship appears to be made of simple metal. Basic. Hull design. No visible weapons. No shields that we can detect. But it is traveling at 0.8 light speed, without any engine signature we can identify. That was impossible. Every ship in the galaxy used fusion drives, or quantum engines. Both left clear energy signatures that could be detected from far away. This ship showed nothing. It was like it was being pushed by invisible hands. Maybe their communication system is broken, suggested Kresha. Maybe they need help. Vextel shook his head. A ship with broken communications would slow down when it saw our station. It would show some sign of distress. This ship has not changed course by even 1 degree. It is heading straight for the heart of our space like it owns the place. The bridge fell quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. No ship entered Zephyrian space without permission. The Empire had rules that had kept peace in this region for 1,000 years. Those rules were enforced by the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. On the human ship called Wanderer, things were very different. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair reading a book. It was an old paper book about fishing. He liked old things. They reminded him of simpler times before humanity had learned to bend space and time. Captain, we are approaching their detection, Range said Navigator Lisa Park. She was a small woman with dark hair, who could plot a course through an asteroid field while eating lunch. Should I adjust our path to avoid their sensors? Jake looked up from his book. No need, Lisa. Let them see us coming. It will be interesting to watch how they react. Engineer Tony Rodriguez was under a panel checking systems that did not exist on any other ship in the galaxy. All systems running smooth, Captain. The phase drive is working perfectly. The probability shields are at full power. The quantum processors are barely working at all. Communications specialist Amy Chen sat at her station listening to alien radio. Chatter. They are getting very excited about us, Captain. Lots of military traffic. They keep asking each other what we are, and why we are not answering their calls. Jake smiled. They will figure it out soon enough. Are we still on schedule? Yes, sir, said Lisa. We will reach the edge of their main system in about 4 hours. Then another 2 hours to pass through to the other side. The Wanderer looked like a simple cargo ship from the outside. It was about 200 feet long with a basic metal hull. It had no visible weapons or fancy equipment. Any alien who saw it would think it was some old trader ship that had seen better days. They would be very wrong. Inside the ship was technology that no other race in the galaxy could understand. The walls contained processors that could think faster than entire planet-sized computers. The hull was made of matter that could exist in several dimensions at once. The engine could push the ship through space-time itself, rather than just moving through normal space. But the most important difference was the crew. Jake Morrison had been born on Earth 300 years ago. Lisa Park had lived through the first contact wars. Tony Rodriguez had helped design ships that could travel between galaxies. Amy Chen could speak languages that existed only in mathematics. They were human, and humans had spent the last 500 years watching the galaxy and learning its secrets. They had seen the wars. They had watched civilizations rise and fall. They had observed the great empires as they conquered weaker races and divided up space between them. Now, they had decided it was time to introduce themselves. Back on the monitoring station, Commander Vextel received a priority message from Fleet Command. Admiral Zorkin himself was taking personal interest in the unknown vessel. 3 battle groups were being moved into position. If the ship did not stop and submit to inspection, it would be destroyed. "Send one more message," Vextel ordered. "Tell them they have 30 minutes to respond before we consider them hostile." Crecia sent the message. The ship continued on its path without any change. Its speed remained constant. Its course remained straight. It was as if the entire Zephyrian Empire did not exist. "Sir," said Melter, "I am reading some very strange energy patterns from that ship. The computer cannot identify what type of technology could produce these readings." Vextel felt a cold feeling in his stomach. In his 20 years of service, he had never seen anything that their computers could not analyze. Zephyrian science was the most advanced in the galaxy. Their sensors could detect a single atom from a light year away. "Keep monitoring," he ordered, "and prepare a full report for the Admiral. I think we are about to have visitors." The small dot on the screen continued to move closer. In a few hours, it would reach them. Then they would learn what kind of beings could build a ship that ignored the laws of physics and the authority of the Zephyrian Empire. Commander Vextel did not know it yet, but his orderly universe was about to change forever. Admiral Zorkin stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the tactical display. 12 massive battle cruisers formed a wall across space. Behind them, 40 escort ships waited in perfect formation. It was enough firepower to destroy a small planet. Any normal ship would have stopped by now. The unknown vessel kept coming. "Time to intercept?" asked the Admiral. 17 minutes, sir," replied his tactical officer. "The alien ship has not changed course or speed. It will pass directly through our formation if we do not stop it." Zorkin had fought in 3 major wars. He had faced rebel fleets and pirate armies. He had destroyed ships that refused to surrender, and captured others that tried to run, but he had never seen anything like this. A single small ship was approaching his entire battle group, as if it was not there. "Open a channel to the alien vessel," he ordered. "Channel open, sir." "Unknown vessel, this is Admiral Zorkin of the Zephyrian Third Fleet. You are ordered to stop immediately and prepare for inspection. If you do not comply, you will be destroyed. You have 5 minutes to respond." The message went out across space on every frequency they could use. The alien ship continued on its path. The seconds ticked by. 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. Still, no response. "Sir," said the communications officer, "I am receiving a transmission from the alien vessel." "Put it on speaker." A calm human voice filled the bridge. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Wanderer. We are just passing through your space. No need for all the ships. We will be gone in about 6 hours." The bridge fell silent. The alien captain sounded like he was talking about the weather. He showed no fear of the massive fleet surrounding him. He spoke as if the Zephyrian Empire was just a minor inconvenience. "Human vessel, this is Admiral Zorkin. You are in violation of Imperial space law. You will stop your ship and submit to inspection immediately. This is not a request." Jake Morrison replied in the same calm voice. "Admiral, I appreciate your concern, but we really are just passing through. We have no interest in your space stations or planets. We will be very careful not to disturb anything. Zorkin felt his anger rising. You will stop your ship now, or I will stop it for you. Do you understand the power of the fleet you are facing? Oh, yes, Admiral. 12 heavy cruisers and about 40 smaller ships. Very impressive. But we really do need to keep moving. We have other places to be. The human captain had counted their ships exactly. That meant his sensors were better than they appeared. Much better. On the Wanderer, Tony Rodriguez made small adjustments to their engine output. The changes were tiny, but they had big effects. Every sensor reading across the alien fleet began to fluctuate wildly. Energy readings jumped up and down. Gravity detectors spun in circles. The advanced Zephyrian sensors suddenly could not tell them anything useful about the human ship. Captain, said Amy Chen, they are getting very upset. I am hearing panic in their communications. Their sensors are giving them random data. That is unfortunate, replied Jake. Tony, can you clean up our emissions a bit? We do not want to break their equipment. Tony Rodriguez smiled. Sure thing, Captain. But I should mention that their science is about 300 years behind ours. Their sensors are trying to measure things that do not exist in their physics books. On the flagship, Admiral Zorkin watched his officers struggle with their instruments. Report, he demanded. Sir, our sensors are malfunctioning. The readings from the alien ship make no sense. According to our instruments, it is simultaneously moving at high speed and standing still. The mass readings show it weighs both nothing and everything. The energy signatures keep changing every second. Are we under attack? No, sir. There are no weapon signatures. No targeting systems. The ship appears to be unarmed. Zorkin stared at the tactical display. The small dot representing the human ship continued to move toward his fleet. In 10 minutes, it would reach them. Then what would happen? All ships prepare for battle stations, he ordered. Charge main weapons. If that ship tries to pass through our formation, we will stop it. The massive Zephyrian warships powered up their weapon systems. Enough energy to destroy cities flowed. Through their circuits, gun ports opened along their hulls. Missile tubes loaded with antimatter warheads prepared to fire. Captain, Jake Morrison felt the weapons powering up through sensors the aliens could not imagine. They are getting ready to shoot at us, he said. Should I raise our defenses? Asked Tony Rodriguez. No need. Let them see what happens when they try. Lisa Park checked their navigation. We will enter their formation in 8 minutes, Captain. I can plot a course around them if you prefer. No, Lisa. Stay on our current path. It will be educational for them. Amy Chen monitored the alien communications. Captain, they are really scared now. I am hearing requests for backup fleets. Some of their officers think we might be a new type of weapon. We are, said Jake Morrison quietly. Just not the type they think. The minutes passed slowly. The human ship grew larger on the Zephyrian sensors. It was clearly visible now through their telescopes. It looked like an old cargo hauler that had seen better days. Nothing about it suggested advanced technology or hidden weapons. Sir, said the tactical officer, the alien ship will reach weapons range in 2 minutes. Target their engines, ordered Admiral Zorkin. Minimum power. A warning shot across their bow. The most powerful laser cannon in the fleet swiveled toward the Wanderer. It was a weapon that could cut through the armor of any known ship. The energy beam that came from it could be seen across the entire star system. The laser fired directly at the human ship. The beam passed through empty space where the Wanderer had been a moment before, but the ship was still there on their sensors. The laser had somehow missed a target that could not move fast enough to dodge. What happened? Demanded the Admiral. Sir, the weapon fired correctly. The beam should have hit the target directly, but somehow it passed through without making contact. Tony Rodriguez had shifted the Wanderer slightly out of normal space-time. The laser beam existed in regular space while the ship briefly occupied a parallel dimension. To outside observers, nothing had happened. The ship was still there. The laser had fired perfectly, but they had not interacted with each other. "Try again," ordered Admiral Zorkin. 3 more ships fired at the Wanderer. All of their beams passed harmlessly through the space the human ship occupied. The weapons worked perfectly. The target was exactly where they aimed, but nothing connected. Captain Jake Morrison opened communications again. "Admiral, those look like very powerful weapons. You should be careful where you point them. Someone could get hurt." Zorkin realized that his most advanced fleet could not even touch this small human ship. Whatever technology they possessed was beyond anything in Zephyrian science. The implications made his head spin. The Wanderer reached the edge of the fleet formation and began to pass through. 40 ships surrounded it with weapons ready. None of them could do anything but watch as the impossible vessel continued on its way. Admiral Zorkin watched helplessly as the human ship moved through his formation. Every weapon in the fleet had fired at the small vessel. Every shot had missed, despite perfect targeting. The impossible ship continued toward the heart of Zephyrian space as if his powerful warships were just decoration. "All ships converge on the alien vessel," he ordered. "Surround it completely. Use tractor beams to stop its movement." The massive Zephyrian cruisers moved into position around the Wanderer. 40 tractor beam projectors locked onto the human ship from every direction. The combined force was enough to hold a moon in place. The beams activated simultaneously. Nothing happened. The Wanderer continued on its path at exactly the same speed. The tractor beams could not get a grip on the ship. They passed right through it, like trying to grab smoke with bare hands. On the human ship, Lisa Park smiled as she watched the alien attempts to stop them. "They are trying tractor beams now, Captain. Should I plot a course around their ships?" "No," replied Jake Morrison. "Just take us straight through, but be careful not to actually hit any of them. We do not want to damage their ships." "Of course, Captain. I will thread us between their hulls with room to spare." The Wanderer began moving through the asteroid field that surrounded the inner system. The field contained thousands of rocks, each the size of a city building. Any normal ship would need to move slowly and carefully to avoid collision. The human vessel accelerated. Lisa Park guided the ship between asteroids with impossible precision. The Wanderer passed within inches of rocks that would have crushed it completely. It moved through gaps that seemed too small for anything larger than a fighter. The navigation was so perfect it looked like magic. "How are they doing that?" asked the tactical officer on Admiral Zorkan's flagship. "I do not know," replied the admiral. "Their pilot would have to calculate the position of every asteroid for the next hour. Even our best computers cannot do that kind of math in real time." What the aliens did not know was that Lisa Park was not calculating anything. Her mind was connected directly to the ship's quantum processors. She could see every possible path through the asteroid field at the same time. She simply chose the best one and followed it perfectly. The Wanderer approached the first of the major space stations. Station Alpha was a massive structure that housed 50,000 people. It served as a military base and trading post for the entire sector. Powerful defense platforms surrounded it, like metal moons. Commander Hexful was in charge of the station's defenses. He had received urgent messages about the approaching human ship. His weapons were charged and ready. His shields were at maximum power. He was prepared for anything, except for what actually happened. The Wanderer flew directly through the middle of his defensive grid. It passed between weapon platforms that were designed to create an impenetrable wall of fire. The human ship moved through the gaps in the defenses, as if it had studied their layout for years. "Sir, the alien vessel is inside our defensive perimeter," reported his tactical officer. "How is that possible? There are no gaps in our coverage large enough for a ship to pass through. The computer analysis shows that the ship followed a path that technically exists, but would require perfect timing and navigation. The margin for error was less than 1 second. Commander Hexfell realized that the human pilot had somehow found the one perfect path through defenses that had taken years to design. It should have been impossible, even if they knew the exact positions of every platform. Amy Chen monitored the communications traffic as they passed the station. Captain, they are asking their superiors for instructions. Nobody knows what to do about us. Some of them think we might be from outside the galaxy. That is not entirely wrong, said Jake Morrison. We have traveled to other galaxies, but we were born right here. The Wanderer continued deeper into Zephyrian space. More stations appeared ahead. Each one was larger and more heavily defended than the last. The defenses were designed to stop entire fleets from advancing, but the human ship treated them like tourist attractions. Tony Rodriguez monitored their ship's systems as they flew. Captain, I am detecting some interesting technology on these stations. Their computers are more advanced than I expected. Still primitive by our standards, but not bad for this part of the galaxy. Are they trying to scan us? Asked Jake. Oh yes. Every sensor they have is pointed our way. They are trying very hard to figure out what we are. I have been letting them see just enough to keep them confused. Admiral Zorkin received reports from every station in the system. The human ship had passed through defenses that should have stopped it completely. It had dodged weapons that could not miss. It had ignored technology that had never failed before. Sir, said his communications officer, I am receiving priority messages from Imperial Command. They want a full report on the alien vessel. Fleet Admiral Morthok is personally taking command of the situation. That was bad news. Fleet Admiral Morthok commanded the entire Zephyrian military. If he was getting involved, then this situation had reached the highest levels of government. What are his orders? Asked Zorkon. Stop the alien ship at any cost. If it reaches the inner worlds, it could threaten the capital itself. But how could they stop something that ignored every weapon and defense they possessed? The Admiral looked at his tactical display and saw more ships moving to intercept the human vessel. Reinforcements were coming from across the Empire. Soon there would be hundreds of warships surrounding the small ship. It would not matter. The Wanderer approached the gravity minefield that protected the approach to the core worlds. The mines were invisible weapons that created artificial gravity wells. Any ship that came too close would be crushed by forces equivalent to a collapsing star. Lisa Park saw the mines clearly on her displays. Captain, there are about 2,000 gravity mines ahead. They form a complete barrier across our path. Can you get us through? Asked Jake. Of course, but it will require some creative navigation. Lisa activated the ship's probability drive. The Wanderer began to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. In some dimensions, the mines were in slightly different positions. In others, they had not been built yet. In a few, they had already been destroyed. Lisa found a dimensional path where the mines created just enough gaps for their ship to pass through. The Wanderer began to shift between realities as it moved forward. To outside observers, it appeared to flicker in and out of existence. The gravity mines tried to lock onto the ship but could not target something that was not entirely in their dimension. The Wanderer passed through the field without triggering a single mine. Admiral Zorkin received the report and felt his last hope disappear. The humans had passed through defenses that had protected the Empire for centuries. They had done it easily and without any apparent effort. Sir, what are your orders? Asked his tactical officer. Zorkin looked at the tactical display one more time. The small dot representing the human ship continued to move toward the heart of their civilization. Behind it lay the wreckage of everything he had believed about military power and technological superiority. Continue pursuit, he ordered, and send a message to Imperial Command. Tell them that we are facing something completely beyond our understanding. The Wanderer reached the edge of the inner system, where the most important worlds of the Zephyrian Empire waited. Admiral Zorkin had been joined by 6 more fleets. Over 300 warships now surrounded the small human vessel. It was the largest military force assembled in this part of the galaxy in 50 years. Captain Jake. Morrison looked at the mass of alien ships on his display and decided it was time for explanations. Amy, open a channel to every ship and station in the system. I think we should have a little chat. Amy Chen smiled as her fingers moved across controls that existed in several dimensions at once. Channel open, Captain. Every communication device in the system is now receiving our signal whether they want to or not. Jake's calm voice reached every bridge in the Zephyrian fleet. This is Captain Jake Morrison speaking to all Zephyrian forces. I think there have been some misunderstandings. We are not invaders. We are not here to attack anyone. We are simply travelers, passing through your space. Admiral Zorkin activated his own communications. Human Captain, this is Admiral Zorkin. You have violated our territory and ignored our authority. Explain yourself immediately. Admiral, I will be happy to explain, replied Jake. But first let me clear up a few things. We are not aliens from another galaxy. We are humans from Earth. We have been watching your civilization for quite some time now. The bridge of every ship in the fleet fell silent. The implications of what the human had said were staggering. Watching us? Asked Admiral Zorkan. Yes, Admiral. We have been observing the Zephyrian Empire for about 200 years now. We have seen your wars. We have watched your expansion. We have studied your technology and your society. You put on quite a show. Jake's words reached every corner of the system. On space stations and planetary surfaces, people stopped what they were doing to listen. This was first contact with an unknown species, but the species claimed they had been watching all along. Tony Rodriguez prepared for the demonstration that would change everything. Captain, are you ready for the greeting? Go ahead, Tony, but keep it gentle. We do not want to break anything important. Tony activated a single system deep in the Wanderer's engine core. It was not a weapon. It was barely even technology by human standards. It was simply a way of saying hello to every piece of electronic equipment in the star system. The pulse went out at the speed of thought. It reached every ship in the fleet simultaneously. For exactly 1 second, every artificial power source in the system flickered. Ship engines hiccuped, station reactors dimmed, personal communication devices blinked. Even the simple lights on Admiral Zorkin's bridge went dark for a moment. Then everything returned to normal. What was that? Demanded the Admiral. That was us saying hello, replied Jake Morrison. We just introduced ourselves to every computer and power source in your system. Do not worry. We did not damage anything. We were just being polite. The tactical officer on the flagship stared at his instruments in shock. Sir, according to our readings, that pulse reached every ship in the fleet at exactly the same instant. That is impossible. Even light takes time to travel between ships. Admiral Zorkin felt a cold understanding wash over him. These humans possessed technology that operated outside the normal laws of physics. They could affect every system in his fleet simultaneously from a single small ship. Amy Chen opened new communication channels to every inhabited world in the system. She bypassed government communications and military networks completely. Her signal reached the personal devices of ordinary citizens on 12 different planets. Hello, said Jake Morrison to millions of people at once. My name is Jake Morrison, and I am a human from the planet Earth. I am speaking to all the people of the Zephyrian worlds. Your governments and military leaders know we are here, but they have not told you about us yet. On the planet Zephyr, Prime families gathered around communication screens that had activated by themselves. Children pointed at devices that were showing images of an alien starship. Adults tried to understand how someone was broadcasting directly to their homes. We have been watching your worlds for many years, continued Jake. We have seen how your empire treats different species. We have observed your military actions against weaker civilizations. We have watched your leaders make decisions that cause suffering across many worlds. The message was being heard on planets that had never received transmissions from space. On worlds where the government controlled all communications, citizens were hearing an outside voice for the first time in generations. "We are not here to conquer anyone," said Jake. "We are not interested in your territory or your resources. We have technology that can create anything we need. We do not want to rule over other species, but we have decided that some things need to change." Admiral Zorkin tried to cut off the transmission, but his communication officers reported that it was impossible. The human signal was coming from everywhere at once. It was not being broadcast in any way they could understand or block. On the Wanderer, Lisa Park, plotted their course through the heart of the system. "Captain, we will pass within sensor range of their capital world in 30 minutes. There are a lot of defensive platforms around that planet. Let them scan us all they want," replied Jake. "In fact, Tony, why do not you give them something interesting to look at?" Tony Rodriguez began allowing the alien sensors to detect systems that had been hidden before. Suddenly the Zephyrian instruments could see inside the human ship. What they found made no sense at all. The Wanderer appeared to contain technology that violated every known law of science. Its hull existed in multiple dimensions. Its engines manipulated space and time directly. Its computers thought faster than anything the aliens had ever imagined possible. "Sir," reported the science officer on Admiral Zorkin's ship, "I am reading technology inside that vessel that should not be possible. According to our sensors, their computer core is processing information at quantum speeds. Their engine appears to be folding space around the ship. Their hull contains materials that exist in parallel dimensions." Admiral Zorkin realized that everything he thought he knew about advanced technology was wrong. The humans were not just more advanced than the Zephyrian Empire. They were so far ahead that comparison was meaningless. Captain Jake Morrison continued his broadcast to the people of the system. "We want you to know that we are not your enemies. We are also not your saviors. We are simply neighbors who have decided to become more involved in local affairs. Your leaders will need to start making better choices about how they treat other species." The message reached resistance groups on occupied worlds. It found its way to refugee camps hidden from Imperial forces. It spoke to enslaved populations who had given up hope of freedom. "We know where you are," said Jake, to people who thought they had been forgotten. "We have been keeping track of every prison camp and every hidden base. We know which officials are corrupt and which ones try to do the right thing. We see everything that happens in this part of the galaxy." Amy Chen shared coordinates with every ship in the system. Not targeting coordinates, but locations of secret facilities that the government thought were hidden. Prison camps on remote moons. Weapons factories on distant asteroids. Research stations where illegal experiments were conducted. "We are sharing this information so that your own people can make informed decisions," said Jake. "We believe that civilizations work best when people know what their governments are really doing." Admiral Zorkin looked at the coordinates appearing on his tactical display. Some of them showed facilities that were classified above his security level. The humans knew about military secrets that only a few dozen people in the entire empire were supposed to know. "How long have you been watching us?" he asked. "Long enough, Admiral," replied Jake Morrison. "Long enough to know that your empire needs to make some changes. We are not asking you to become like us. We are just asking you to stop doing some of the things that cause unnecessary suffering." The Wanderer continued its journey through the heart of Zephyrian space. Behind it lay a civilization that would never be the same. The age of empire built on superior technology and military force was ending. Something new was beginning. The Wanderer approached the edge of Zephyrian space as hundreds of warships followed behind it. Admiral Zorkin had been joined by Fleet Admiral Morthok himself. The highest military commander in the Empire watched helplessly as the small human vessel prepared to leave their territory. Captain Jake Morrison opened one final communication to the assembled fleet. "Admiral Morthok, I know you are listening. Before we go, I want to leave you with some information that might be useful. Fleet Admiral Morthok was a veteran of 40 years of military service. He had conquered star systems and defeated rebel fleets. But nothing in his experience had prepared him for this encounter. "Speak human," he replied. "Admiral, your empire controls about 400 star systems. You have a population of roughly 2 trillion people across those systems. Your military consists of 6,000 major warships and maybe 50,000 smaller vessels. Those are impressive numbers." Jake paused to let that information sink in. Every detail was exactly correct. The humans had counted every ship and every world with perfect accuracy. "What is your point?" asked Admiral Morthok. "My point, Admiral, is that there are currently about 40,000 ships like ours scattered across this galaxy. Most of them have been invisible to your sensors until now. We have been here all along, watching everything that happens." The silence that followed was complete. 40,000 ships with technology that made the entire Zephyrian fleet obsolete. The implications were beyond comprehension. Tony Rodriguez began broadcasting the locations of other human vessels. Sensor stations across the galaxy suddenly detected ships that had been there for years without being seen. They appeared near every major space lane and around every important star system. Amy Chen opened channels to other human ships and let the aliens listen to the conversations. Calm voices discussed weather patterns on distant worlds and trading routes between galaxies. The humans talked about technology and science that was centuries ahead of anything the empires possessed. "We have been content to remain hidden," continued Jake Morrison. "We allowed the various empires to play their games of conquest and expansion. We watched species rise and fall. We observed wars that destroyed entire civilizations. For the most part, we did not interfere. Lisa Park plotted their final course out of the system. Captain, we will clear their border in 15 minutes. After that, we enter neutral space." "Good," replied Jake. "But first, we should explain the new rules." Fleet Admiral Morthok felt his worldview crumbling around him. "What rules, human?" "The rules that will govern how galactic empires behave from now on," said Jake. "We have decided that certain activities need to stop. The casual enslavement of primitive species, the destruction of developing civilizations for their resources, the endless wars over territory that could be shared. All of that ends now." Jake's words reached every corner of the galaxy through the network of human ships. Leaders of dozens of empires heard the message simultaneously. They learned that their activities had been observed and judged by a civilization they never knew existed. "We are not interested in ruling over other species," continued Jake. "We do not want your territory or your resources. We can create anything we need without taking it from others. But we will no longer tolerate behavior that causes unnecessary suffering." Admiral Zorkin found his voice. "You cannot simply impose your will on the entire galaxy. What gives you the right to tell sovereign empires how to behave?" "The right of superior capability, Admiral," replied Jake. "We have the power to enforce these rules, so we accept the responsibility to do so. That is how civilization works. Those who can help others have a duty to do so." Tony Rodriguez demonstrated that power by transmitting detailed scans of every military installation in Zephyrian space. The scans showed the location of every weapon and every ship. They revealed defensive systems that were supposed to be secret. The humans had mapped the entire empire down to the smallest detail. "We know where everything is," said Jake. "We know which officials are corrupt and which ones try to do good. We know where the prison camps are hidden and where the weapons are stored. We see everything that happens in your territory." Amy Chen shared communication logs that showed conversations between empire leaders, private discussions about enslaving weaker species and destroying primitive civilizations, plans for wars of conquest that would kill billions of innocent people. "We have recordings of every important conversation in your government for the past 50 years, said Jake. "We know what your leaders really think about the people they rule. We know their plans for future expansion and conquest. The evidence was overwhelming. The humans had been watching and recording everything for decades. No secret was safe from their observation. No plan could be hidden from their sensors. Fleet Admiral Mortok realized that his empire's military power was meaningless against beings who could monitor every conversation and see through every deception. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "We want you to start treating other species with basic respect," replied Jake. "We want you to stop enslaving primitive civilizations. We want you to find ways to resolve conflicts without destroying entire worlds. These are not difficult concepts." The Wanderer reached the edge of Zephyrian space and prepared to enter neutral territory. Behind it, the largest military force in the Empire watched helplessly as it departed. "This conversation has been educational," said Jake Morrison. "We will be monitoring your behavior to see if the necessary changes are made. If they are not, then we will have additional conversations. I hope that will not be necessary." Lisa Park engaged their quantum drive, and the Wanderer began to fade from normal space. Within seconds, it had disappeared completely, leaving only empty space where it had been. Tony Rodriguez sent one final message to every sensor array in the system. Data packets that contained detailed plans for more efficient energy production and medical technology that could cure diseases the aliens had never solved. "Consider those gifts," said Jake's voice from everywhere at once. "Use them to help your people live better lives. We hope to see improvements in how your empire treats others. We will be watching." The communication ended, and the human ship was gone. But its message continued to spread across the galaxy. Other empires received similar visits from other human vessels. The same calm voices delivered the same basic message. The age of conquest and empire built on military force was ending. A new age was beginning where the most advanced civilization in the galaxy had decided to become its conscience. Fleet Admiral Morthok looked at his tactical display, where hundreds of ships waited for orders. "Stand down all weapons," he commanded. "Return to normal patrol duties." "Sir, what about the human vessel?" asked Admiral Zorkon. "What about it, Admiral?" "They are gone, but they are also still here, everywhere, watching everything we do." Morthok walked to the viewing window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere among them 40,000 human ships continued their patient observation. The galaxy looked the same as it always had, but everything had changed. The Zephyrian Empire would need to find new ways to interact with other species. Ways based on cooperation instead of conquest. Ways that recognized the basic rights of all intelligent beings. Because now they knew they were being watched by neighbors, who had the power to enforce their vision of how civilizations should behave. The humans had introduced themselves as the galaxy's new moral authority, and there was nothing anyone could do about it, except try to be better.